Recently, one of the A&P, Spencer, has asked me if you can use intermittent fasting if you have a history of eating disorders. Now, I have my own thoughts on this, but I wanted to bring someone who actually specializes in the psychology of eating disorders so that they can shed some light on this topic for you guys. So today I'm going to be interviewing Kati, who's a therapist and YouTuber, and dive into this topic of intermittent fasting and eating disorders. Alright guys, if you're new to my channel and you don't know who I am, my name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition and human performance. On my channel, I'm typically talking about the science-backed and holistic methods that you can use in order to achieve your wellness dreams. So if you have a wellness goal in mind, make sure you subscribe. All right, now let's dive into this topic of intermittent fasting and eating disorders with Kati. All right guys, we're here today with Kati. So she's also a YouTuber, which is pretty awesome.
So my name is Kati Morton and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been on YouTube for 8 years, just talking about all things mental health.
I'm not an expert in eating disorders. We learn a bit about it in school, but you have to specialize in it, just like what you learned. And I chose a sports nutrition route instead.
Fair.
For eating disorders, like if someone comes to you with an eating disorder, what is typically the plan of attack?
First of all, it's assessments. So I have them see someone like you. Like I have a lot of colleagues who specialize in eating disorders and are nutritionists or dietitians. I have them go see.
That was a good sentence.
I also have them go see their regular doctor, get blood work done, because the first question when you see an eating disorder patient as a therapist is what level of treatment do they need? And I jump right in asking them about what they do. So what does your eating disorder tell you to do? What behaviors? They never tell me all of it. It's okay. It's okay to lie to your therapist. I know you do it. It's fine. But it gives me an idea of what's going on, because eating disorders are coping skills. Don't believe people when they say it's like vanity. Yeah. It's just about losing weight. It's all about coping. It's like something else is going on, whether it's trauma, whether it's stress related, whether everything else feels out of control and the only thing we can control.
It's not that.
It's not, we can't control that.
I mean, obviously I'm not a specialist in this, so I'm not immersed in the culture, but I've noticed from friends of mine who have suffered from eating disorders, they've been guided to really not focus on nutrition and solely focus on eating. Which I get to a point, but also there's the fact that nutrition has such a big impact on your mental health.
I mean, it's not that we throw caution to the wind and don't think about nutrition, but I think people who haven't had an eating disorder don't realize just how much of our brain space is focused on food. And nutrition and counting and these crazy equations that nobody understands, but we understand them. And all this comparison, there can be a lot going on. The reason that we kind of remove that is so that they can just eat.
One of the reasons why I got into nutrition was because I noticed how big of an impact nutrition had on my anxiety. I've suffered from anxiety my whole life. Exactly. So specifically with sugar, I've noticed that. And when you actually look at the textbook definition of hypoglycemia and low blood sugar, that's one of the symptoms of low blood sugar is feelings of anxiety and even to a larger extent depression. That's where I've seen issues where people can then slip into further feelings of anxiety that can put them in that wrong mental space.
I hear what you're saying, and there's validity to that. I mean, even as someone who has low blood sugar, I'll get those shakes.
Oh really?
So I know that feeling. But I think the thing is like eating disorders are super dangerous. And all consuming. And so it's like one thing at a time. Like we have to learn how to have a healthy relationship with food so that we can slowly learn how to refeed ourselves and love ourselves. And then if we find other things going on, we can tackle that as well. A lot of what I teach and preach is intuitive eating. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. There's no ranking.
Then that leads into one of the big topics I've been getting a lot of questions about from my audience is intermittent fasting. Not necessarily for people who are currently recovering from an eating disorder, because of course that probably wouldn't be a good idea. Not an expert, she is, but I'm assuming that's probably the answer. But for someone who's had a history of eating disorder, using some form of intermittent fasting, even if it's like a 12-hour fast.
It's very tricky. I don't recommend it. When it comes to eating disorder treatment, we don't want to get too hungry because we get caught in that binge restrict cycle. Meaning, I won't eat enough, I'll feel super hungry, and then I'll overeat. We've all been there, right? Where we go through our day and we're so busy that we don't have time to eat when we were hungry and listen to our bodies, and so then we get overly hungry, we overeat. And so the goal with eating disorders is not to trigger that feeling, because if they either a binge eater or a restrictive person, that's very triggering, and it makes that eating disorder voice in our head go wild.
So would you say it's the hunger or the rules? Because my mind automatically went to the fact that maybe it's because it's rules that could be an issue for people with eating disorders, or are you saying it's more of the fact that it's hunger?
It totally depends on the person. Some people are very rules based and some are very hunger based, and some both. So I think it's just person to person, but both could be an issue. It doesn't mean that we can't go 12 hours without eating, because trust me, I like to sleep in on the weekends, and it probably is like a 12-hour time period.
And I like what you're saying about, listening to your body and hunger, because that's something that I talk a lot about, because when you eat the right types of things anyway, and you eat enough of those right types of things, then you're automatically going to get some break between meals where you're just not hungry.
Well, yeah, because you've ate filling and satiating foods. That's the problem with diets, is people tend to think, oh, I just have to eat these low calorie foods. Well, then you're hungry right away.
Yeah.
Because you still need energy to make your body work. And it's also not just energy to exercise, it's energy to use your brain. Our brains need more fat and more energy to operate. That's why when we're starving ourselves, it can be really hard to concentrate, really hard to recall information. So if you are eating satiating and wholesome meals, you will stay full for a long time.
That's something that I've really found useful with not just intermittent fasting, but breaks between meals in general, is it stimulates this pathway that I'm always talking about called migrating motor complex. It's a form of peristalsis. So it's kind of like where you're already moving food out.
There's a bug. You'll see that later and be like, okay.
It's where basically your body is flushing out in between meals the left behind food and bacteria that can lead to things like bloating or things like SIBO, which of course, again, gut health, so important for your mental health as well. So that's where I like what you're saying on the satiating foods, because that automatically is going to trigger you to not eat for that 4 hours or 3.5 hours or so between meals when you need that to stimulate migrating motor complex. And that in itself gives you some of the benefits that you would get from fasting anyway, without that, the rule structure that would go along with it.
Yeah, and even at the Eating Disorder Treatment Center, we had meals and snacks every 3.5, 4 hours.
Wow, yeah.
And that was kind of the structure. And a lot of the girls had issues because when we're refeeding, something nobody talks about is just the bloat. And also the fact that you gain weight around your middle, because that's where all your important organs are, and your body's like, I don't trust you.
And after, I'm sure, with eating disorders, probably higher amount of stress and cortisol that was there. So
huge, high levels of cortisol.
With that type of structure of stimulating the MMC, would you think that in eating for satiety, would you think that would be a safer route then for people to focus on gut health while also?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think that otherwise, like if we're trying to restrict amounts of time, that it gets too regulated, too rules based. And I think that all of that just to say that even if we're eating calorically the right amount, but we're not like satisfied, it's not going to work either.
All right, thank you so much, Katie, for sharing that information. Guys, make sure to check out Katie's channel. I'll have Katie's channel linked in the description down below. And I want to do more videos like this where I bring on other experts. So if you love this, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It lets me know that you like it and I'll do more of it. And if you are interested in the science behind intermittent fasting, I highly recommend that you check out this video next. Also, if you love the science-backed information on how you can feel amazing again, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.